So, my friend, we will start our journey by intensive practice, and please continue this practice regularly so that these simple principles enters into your mind and you start living, speaking, thinking, and acting with these principles. So simply close your eyes. Understand every stage. Close your eyes. Become aware of the body. It is adjust. You adjust and align the body. You may feel the sensation in the body with eyes closed. We may do it with eyes open also, but at a later stage, when these principles are clearly understood, experienced, and look inside the head. So when you look inside the head, in the space, we will reflect and contemplate the state of the world outside, the state of the mind, and the state of the self. The state of the world, with eyes closed, become aware of the world outside. So the first thing that we find, the world is constantly changing. So when the world outside is changing, it has, for any object in the world, you build a house, after maybe 50 years, we see the death of the house, dilapidated condition. You buy anything for the kitchen, the bowls, ultimately, sometime it breaks. So anything in the world that we see, experience, is constantly changing. We buy a used car, but we are now 50 years old, for example. We don't say we are using the used body. This is the wrong notion we have created in our mind. Look at the carpet you buy, and after a few weeks and the months you throw it and replace with the new one. What about this body? That is also constantly changing. We are asking the mind to understand this world. The body is a part of the world. We change the phone, we change our clothes. Why we change? Because it is constantly changing. we have to maintain our awareness of everything in the world, the people, the place, the relations. But at the same time, we should be aware that it is constantly changing. That awareness in us is not changing. Just look, let the mind play with you. It brings in any thought. In that thought, you pick up an object. Find which object has this thought. And you will find out that object is constantly changing. Can I stop it? No, never. So when I cannot change it, it is a universal law. And when I cannot change it, it's a universal law. I should accept the change. I should accept the change in the world. And what is that world? That world is of people, near and dear ones. That is place. That is our possessions and also our body. So we are removing the wrong notion created by the mind. How we are removing the wrong notion? By the knowledge, by understanding, by becoming aware. When we live unconscious, habitual life, we get attached to people, things, and place in the world. Then what happens? Then our mind says, we don't want this, should change. We are going against the law of the world. Then what happens? The mind says, no change. But the world is constantly changing, so there is a struggle. Why the mind says, do not change? Because I am attached. So where the attachment comes from? From the mind. So that is the state of the mind. So when the mind wants, that is not possible, then I enter into anxiety and the stress. Why I want? Because I am seeking happiness in the world. Again become aware of the world outside. Anything that is seen, experienced, including the body, is constantly changing by the universal law of change. And the mind is also changing, my friend. In the morning, you have one group of thoughts. In the afternoon, second group. In the evening, third group. And in sleep, you do not have any single thought. You do not recognize it. This mind is also constantly changing. We are mean I am. When I say I am, it means we are aware of this change. We are aware of the world that is changing and the mind that is changing. When we experience this change, our mind gives us an experience of pairs of opposites, pain and pleasure. We have a pain. We did not have a pain yesterday. Today we have. We recognize, we see it is a part of the world. The part of the world means it is changing. So yesterday we had pain. Pain is gone. Today we have pleasure, and tomorrow it will repeat itself. Again the pain is there. Yesterday anxiety, today happiness, tomorrow again. Where it is happening? It is happening in the mind with reference to the world outside. With reference to the world outside. We need that clarity and understanding. Just you are simply aware. When any thought comes, it pertains to the world. So find out and become aware of the change in that object, including the thought is also changing. See that. As if you are separate from the world. How do you separate? You are simply aware. You see the change. You see the world in the mind brings in the duality of pain and the pleasure, profit and the loss, victory and the defeat, pain and the pleasure, sorrow and the happiness. But there is something behind the mind, beyond the world. Our Master declares that it is our real self. It is unchanging. It is infinite. It is full of permanent peace, happiness, love and wisdom. That real self is not changing. So again see, the mind is changing constantly and the world is changing. We are not changing. How do I get that awareness to see we are not changing? Take one example. Become aware of the body. Are you aware of the body? Yes. Let us go a little deeper. When you are aware of the body, you feel the body is comfortable, calm and relaxed. At this moment, yes. Okay, now find out. Do you live in the same body in the dreaming state? In the dream state, your body is lying on the bed as it is. So in the dream, you have a dream body that is playing and living the dream. In the dream, sometime you see the dream body is paining, have problems, and when you wake up, you find that is a different body. See that. We have to discover this mystery. And then what about in sleep? In deep sleep, we are not at all aware of the body. We are not aware of the mind. We are not aware of the changing world and the changing mind. In deep sleep, no pain, no pleasure, no awareness of the changing world, no worries about whether the body is old, young, suffering, nothing of that sort. You see that? In sleep, only in the waking state we experience pain, pleasure, profit, loss, angry reaction. Do we have a suffering in sleep? The answer is no. So it means in deep sleep we do not experience any miseries and the suffering, because there is no world, there is no mind. But in waking state, we become aware of the world, we become aware of the mind, we become aware of the attachment, we become aware of the detachment, we become aware of the likes and dislikes. So the result is the stress, anxiety, reaction, grief, problem, pain, duality, conflict. And when we were sleeping, none of them was present. What is this mystery? So our masters say that in deep sleep we are unconscious. At the same time, the world and the mind outside cannot influence us. We don't feel that influence. When we do not feel that influence, we experience total calmness in deep sleep, because every time we wake up from the deep sleep, we experience peace and happiness. So it means we should work on the mind, we should take work from the mind, but not getting influenced by its passion, by its attachment, by its ignorance, so that we can keep the world outside. We do not allow the world to live in us at any point of time. Now see the beauty. We are just asking the mind to gain the right knowledge. We did nothing, and we feel relaxed and calm by listening and knowing and understanding the right knowledge. That is the beauty and the power of this Eastern wisdom. So this is the way you should be thinking every day. First as a part of meditation and during the day. After all, you know you are a landscaper. You know the weed grows and you have a beautiful plants grown in the yard. Are the plants and the weed are different? In one way they are not, because they both are plants. What we say weed means unwanted plants. Unwanted species should be removed. So it doesn't mean that we should stop thinking. Thoughts are like the plants and the weed together. So our journey is to remove those wrong notions, wrong thoughts, acting as a weed in our mind. So when we think in this way, what is the way? We are thinking the world is constantly changing. Whatever is seen in the world, felt and experienced, are constantly changing. It gives an experience of pairs of opposites, profit, loss, pain, pleasure, because of ignorance in the mind. What is that ignorance? The false notion, the false thinking. So what would normally we do with the weed? Do we give importance to the weed? Do we say, okay, let me not touch you? So what is the weed? I'm suffering because the world outside should not change. What is the right thinking? That the world is constantly changing. Let me recognize and accept it and continue to find my true nature. So our master says there are two types of knowledge. One type of knowledge about the world and the mind, and the second type of the knowledge is beyond the mind, that is of our real self. So we should remember, repeat, recall the moment we have anxiety and the stress. We should recall and remember that there are two types of the knowledge. One knowledge is only about my true nature, and the other type of the knowledge is the rest of the knowledge of my personal, professional, social life pertaining to the world. You did not do any practice, you simply removed the weeds from your mind and allowed those thoughts to grow and take the shape of a bud and the flower that will take you to the right journey in life to discover peace and happiness. So you are still looking deep inside the head. So when you summarize what we understood now in a phrase, moving from ignorance to wisdom, moving from the false to the truth, moving from mortality to immortality. So again, let us go deeper into this practice. What do we practice we are doing at present? We are doing an knowledge practice. Knowledge is not practiced, but for the sake of understanding. So when we say moving from the false to the truth, recall, repeat, think during the day. Moving from the false to the truth. So my body, breath, mind, intellect, ego, possessions, it is not me. The way car is not me. It is my possession. Similarly, the body, breath, mind, intellect, and ego are my possessions. It is not me. Then, who am I? Remind yourself. We have yet to discover. So we are putting the knowledge. We are, as if, we are giving a treatment to the lawn in the mind. So the weed should not grow by an understanding that the real self is behind the mind. I should discover that is of the nature of peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. You see, even if you start thinking in your mind, so the mind changes the direction. What is grief? I am attached to someone who is dying or who is dead. Now, why the attachment is the attachment required, or is it a weed? It doesn't mean that we should not love others. Love is different from attachment. Love means self-giving with a recognition and acceptance. An attachment is seeking, expecting happiness from others. Clinging, attachment is clinging. Love is liberating. So the second principle we should always remember, moving from the ignorance to wisdom. What is that ignorance? The weed has covered the reality. The weed has covered all the beautiful plants that you have grown into your yard. How simple it is, how easy it is. Every day you look at the yard and you are aware, oh, the weed is there, I have to remove it out. But what happens when we are attached to the world? We claim the weed is the real thing. And that is what is known as ignorance. And moving from the mortality to the immortality. Mortal, what dies is not me. What dies can never be me. What dies is the part of the world. What dies is the wrong notion created by the mind. Again, the weed, same example, the weed and the plant. So when mind says, talks about, thinks about the death, instantly remember, recall, what dies can never be me. And what never dies is the real self. What dies is the real self. So what happens, my friend, that we have the right knowledge. You see that I know you, what it takes to know you, it is very clear. Where are you located? I know you. It is very clear. But when I say we are, our true nature is full of peace and happiness. The mind says, I understand, but it is not going deeper within. Why it is not going deeper within? It is not going within because the mind is still stuck with the wrong notion and the ideas, supported by the fear and the pleasure and the pain. It is the mind in you. Knowledge is knowledge. Knowledge do not change. So that is what we say, that it is the impurity of the mind. So unless that impurity is removed from the mind, we cannot enter into that knowledge. What is that impurity? The weed is claimed as the plants that you like to grow into your yard. But I should once the mind is clear, then only it will recognize. Sometimes, we find you have many flower plants in the yard, and the weed also grows the flower. And sometimes there is a misconception. Oh, this is also the plant which has a flower. We don't recognize. Only the close examination helps us. So let us purify the mind. And the best way to purify the mind is keep looking inside the forehead at a place, at a point where you experience the spark of calmness. And start breathing playfully and gently. Don't do it which gives an exertion, an effort to the body. It is play and a fun. And stop this. When you stop this, experience the change in the body. But remember, whatever you experience is also changing. Means what? We experience the change not only through our sensations. We may experience the freshness and a little more calmness. During that state of the calmness, we can move the mind deeper within. Now it all depends on how many weeds we have grown during the years of our life. We have grown more, We need a strong action. We need a repetition for this. That is all. So, looking again, being aware of a point inside the head in the space, that is very important. Why? That keeps awareness intact. And then start breathing playfully. Remember, you breathe short, quicken breath, that is, you enjoy. You don't exert. And stop this. Experience the change. This is something like that. We have removed the weed, but still the weed is in the yard. You have to throw it. So that throwing of the weed as compared to our mind and the impurities is lifting the prana, lifting the mind up, moving the mind from the lower to the higher consciousness through the breath. How we do that? You are aware of the breath. You start breathing deep, silent, slow. Please do not hurry in breathing. First breath, little deeper. Second breath, deeper than the previous one. And as you inhale, what happens? First is belly, then the chest, remember. Then the chest. You exhale from the belly, from the chest. The body is naturally steady. See that? Body is naturally steady. So first thing, you are breathing, inhaling, deep, silent, and slow. The mind goes back again to the wrong notions, the weed. So we have to give another treatment to this mind. So as you inhale, move the mind in the spine from the crown of the head to the tailbone. And when you exhale, move the mind from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Yes, you are an expert in landscaping, so I'm just translating the entire journey with your profession. So, what are the things you are aware of doing this practice? The body is steady, remains steady. Then you are breathing deep, silent, and slow. Third, as you inhale, you move your mind from the crown of the head to the tailbone. When you exhale, the mind moves from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Our crazy mind even doesn't listen and forget it. So to avoid that state of the forgetfulness, we ask the mind, as you inhale, moving the mind from the crown of the head to the tailbone, you become aware of the space within, whether it's a dark space or emptiness. Doesn't matter. But you are aware of the space during inhalation, during exhalation. It is easy to understand this step with a simile. The body is like an earth. The space inside the spine is the highway on the earth. Mind is the driver. And the breath is your car. Don't you love driving your car? So you are driving your car, means deep, silent, and slow breath on the highway, which is the space inside the spine, from the crown of the head to the tailbone, and from the tailbone to the crown of the head, cleaning and finding that there is only the highway. There is no one on that highway. You will find some thoughts pops up in the mind, but you continue the journey and you will discover, yes, it is gone. We are understanding. At the same time, with understanding, we are practicing. With that practice and understanding, we are also experiencing the change. We will be doing this journey in two parts. The first part today and the second part we will follow next week. Until then, you just continue this practice. And I'll leave this deep silence, slow breath. So understand, when the mind goes out in the world, it finds millions, trillions, means many objects, many people, many possessions. But the same mind goes inside, it finds only one. And who is that one? It is you and your real nature. Can we ask the mind? But don't force the mind. If you force the mind, it will react. Why it will react? Because that mind has not seen the true nature before. Why it reacts? Because it is obsessed with the things of the world outside. It knows the near and the dear ones. It knows our wealth. It has the possessions. It doesn't want to leave. We need not to leave, but we should drop the very idea of possessions and the attachment and the craving and the duality and the conflict. Advanced seekers, just by listening, can do that. And it is a self-check. So just move the mind on the skin of the entire body, from the top to the toes. Say, for example, your mind is on the top of the head. So the mind is moving slowly, touching every cell of the top of the head. Then it moves on the forehead, back of the head, ears, then forehead and the face. The mind is moving. As it moves, you will experience sensation, tingling, numbness, freezing of the body. What should you do? Recognize and accept. Don't panic. The mind moves all around the neck slowly. Shoulders, chest, right arm, left arm. The back, right leg, left leg. As you move the mind, slowly and gently, as if the mind is touching every cell of the skin of the body, you instantly enter into a deeper state of sensation, relaxation, and stillness. It is good. A couple of days you should do the practice with eyes closed, and then you do the practice with eyes open and see what happens. And every day you should write to me. And now move the mind inside the body, inside the head, inside the arms, chest, belly, legs. So when the mind is moving inside, you also experience the sensation and the space or darkness inside. So for the sake of understanding and progressing, we experience the sensation inside is calmness, and the space within is quietness. We'll follow the teaching of one master who says that deep inside the center of the rib cage, the heart is there. We are not talking the physical heart. We are talking of the heart which is the seat of our real self. So just look inside the center of the rib cage and let the mind move deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So when you move the mind deeper and deeper and deeper, so what happens? You experience as if there is no world, there is an emptiness. So what is now left is one thing that needs to be dropped. The idea that I-ness is left. So are you deep inside the heart? Yes. Do you see the space? Yes. Pick up a point in the space and drop Om Namah Shivaya. Again you see the space. Om Namah Shivaya. Om, symbol. Like your name is a symbol. Om is a symbol of infinity, objectless state. Namah, you drop your ego, I-ness, which is attached to the world and possessions and the people. So infinity, no I-ness, that manifests Shiva. So Shiva meaning here is auspiciousness. In that auspicious moment, we awaken to our real nature. So again, move the mind deeper inside the heart, you find the space. Pick up a point in the space. And drop Om Namah Shivaya. So the mind says, I see the infinity all pervading. In the absence of I-ness reveals my true nature. Normally we start reciting the mantra without understanding the essence behind it. So then what happens? The weed is still there. Continue. Shivaya. Shivaya. Namaha Shivaya. Namaha Shivaya. Namaha Shivaya. Do you still keep that knowledge in your mind? Infinite, all-pervading existence is the symbolically Om. Reveals into the auspiciousness when the mind is absorbed inside in the absence of our ego. Namaha Shivaya. So you should be doing this practice in the last one step. You continue doing it. Let the time come in this week when you will see that the mind is totally absorbed. It does not want to return from that state. For what is that state? Deeper inside. From that state, you need to see the world. You will find the entire world has changed. But understand, the world has not changed. Your perception has changed. Now you see your lawn is free from the weed, the wrong notions, the attachment and the craving. Then you see the world which is constantly changing with an indifference, in constant love and awareness, with the recognition and acceptance. State of the world, the state of the mind, and your real nature. We'll be doing the second part, still deeper than this one. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.